what's happening around the world.
And what's happening here at home. Good evening and a very warm welcome. You're watching Primetime News on TV1. I'm Theruni Karunaratna.
And I'm Sandra Ferdinando. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Two wild elephants killed in train collision at Mineria. Bataclan train services further disrupted. New chairman appointed to the University Grants Commission. Businessman files writ petition in Court of Appeal seeking permission to retain firearms. Is the government borrowing more? Dr. Harsha clarifies.
මේකට කියන්නේ ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් කියන්නේ roll over. මෙහෙමයි මේක වෙන්නේ.
Two men arrested for serial robberies, sexual assault and murder.
තනකොටගත් පත්වන අවස්ථාවේදී ඕන අපරාධයකට යන සූදානමින් අඳුම් වලින් ආයිත්තම් වලින් සැරසිලා සූදානමින් සිටී.
This morning, a devastating accident claimed the lives of two elephants after they were hit by a fuel tanker train traveling from Kolonava to Bataclan. The accident has disrupted train services on the Bataclan line, resulting in several train journeys being cancelled.
The incident occurred near the 146th mile post, roughly 1 kilometer from the Mineria railway station. According to the locomotive driver, the collision took place around 3:10 a.m. The train travelling from Kolonava to Bataclan collided with a herd of elephants crossing the tracks. Due to the accident, two elephants were killed and another was seriously injured. The locomotive and 4 fuel tankers were also derailed. Significant damage was inflicted on the railway line due to the collision.
Suddenly, a herd of elephants appeared right in front. There were about 20 elephants. They were only about 10 meters away when they crossed onto the tracks, leaving us with no time to react. We had no other option. However, I pulled the emergency brakes to their maximum capacity. Normally, even if we see a dog, we make an effort to avoid it. But in this case, we had no choice. All of them were involved in the accident. It felt like hitting 4 elephants at once. The train also derailed. This train is an oil tanker equipped with 8 tanks, 3 for petrol and 5 for diesel. Each petrol tank holds approximately 50,000 litres. 2 of the petrol tanks overturned, causing a fuel spill, while the other tank, which belonged to the guard, also derailed.
Currently, an injured elephant about 6 to 8 years old is receiving medical treatment. Refueling efforts from the tanker to the fuel bowser got underway this afternoon, while restoration work on the railway line is already underway. The accident occurred near an elephant corridor, an area where wild elephants frequently roam in search of water and food. A speed limit sign has now been erected to warn train operators of the danger. 6 years ago, 4 elephants lost their lives in a similar accident nearby.
අලි පණින මාර්ගය තමයි හරියටම වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. වැලි මංකඩ ගමේ වැවට යන කඩුල්ලුවෙන් මින්නේරි වැවට යන තැන හරියටම වෙලා තියෙන්නේ සිද්ධිය වල. මම හිතනවා මීට කලින් වුණ සිදුවීමුත් එක්ක යම්කිසි ක්‍රියාමාර්ගයක් අරන් තිබුණා නම් අද මේ අවාසනාවන්ත සිද්ධිය වෙන්නේ.
The Railway Station Masters Union had this to say.
The Bataclan route has some unique challenges. When trains travel here, they deal with tracks and steep hills along the northern line. This means that when carrying fuel, the train has to go up these hills at a certain speed. Even though we take precautions at elephant corridors, there are times when drivers just can't see these animals in advance.
A team from the Department of Railways and the Department of Wildlife arrived at the site of the accident.
For years, the Department of Wildlife and the Department of Railways have worked together on many projects. This isn't just about this area. There are several places where wild elephants are active, especially in this region. We have set up various programs to help prevent accidents like this. We have identified elephant corridors and put up speed limit signs to raise awareness. We are also working to clear both sides of the reserve.
He added that a special investigation will be launched into the deaths of the 2 elephants.
It's tough to figure out the exact speed because the train was about 100 to 150 meters away when the collision happened. It looks like the speed was around 25 to 30 kilometers per hour. We hope to get everything back to normal by tonight or early tomorrow morning.
Senior Professor Kapila Senaviratne today assumed duties as the new chairman of the University Grants Commission. Senior Professor Kapila Senaviratne has been appointed as the new chairman of the University Grants Commission by President Anurakumara Dissanayake. Senior Professor Kapila Senaviratne assumed his duties at the University Grants Commission. A distinguished scholar in the field of chemistry, he is an alumnus of the University of Kelaniya. He earned his PhD from the Wayne State University in the United States in 1997. Throughout his career, he has led numerous research projects focusing on chemical and nutritional properties of edible oils, establishing himself as a leading academic in this area. Prior to his new appointment, Senior Professor Kapila Senaviratne served as the Dean of the Postgraduate Institute at the University of Kelaniya.
Two people believed to be responsible for a spate of heinous crimes in the Gampa district, particularly around Malwatu Hiripitiya, have been arrested by the police. The suspects were produced before the Gampa Magistrates Court and remanded in custody.
Police investigations uncovered a pattern of nighttime home invasions and robberies in the Gampaha district, encompassing Malwatu Hiripitiya, Valivaria and Kirindiwala. In addition to theft, the suspects are accused of physically and sexually assaulting females in the houses. The two men were arrested in a police raid last night as they were about to enter a house in Malwatu Hiripitiya while donning face masks and specialized attire.
පසුගිය දින රාත්‍රියේ අපිට තොරතුරක් ලැබුණා නිවසක් අසල යම්කිසි ශබ්දයක් ඇසෙනවා ඒක සැකසහිත.
We received information about suspicious noises coming from near a house at night. At that time, our teams were stationed about 60 meters away. Once we received this message, they acted immediately. While observing the surrounding area according to our crime-solving tactics, we noticed a motorcycle's license plate shining in a forested area along a by-road. The officers carefully approached the license plate in the dense area at that moment. Shortly after, the two suspects arrived at that location. The officers then used the necessary force to arrest the two suspects. At the time of their arrest, they were dressed in clothing for suitable committing the crime.
Police said that they received information indicating that the suspects also abused and killed a woman.
They enter these homes in a highly organized manner. Upon entering, they leave a specific pattern of committing these crimes. First, they go straight to the kitchen and eat food from the refrigerator, after which they carry out their activities freely. They tend to choose houses where only one male resides, as well as single-family detached homes on larger properties. This is because they know that neighbors are less likely to hear any disturbances. Then, they take all the gold and other valuables from the house.
The police spokesperson said that information regarding how the robbers entered the houses and committed their crimes has been revealed.
A particular disturbing aspect of their crime is that they often attempt to remove or tear the clothing of their victims. In some instances, they have sexually assaulted women in front of their male family members. These crimes have been reported in various police domains, including Valivaria, Kirindiwala, Kiriyalla and Ahaliyagoda. Our investigations revealed a consistent pattern in these crimes, leading us to suspect them. We identified their connections in the area and confirmed their involvement in the crimes. One of the most heinous acts attributed to them is the rape and murder of an elderly woman.
Police spokesperson DIG Nihal Thaldua said that one of the two suspects currently in custody is a drug addict and that methamphetamine and a live grenade were also discovered in his possession.
A petition has been filed in the Court of Appeal requesting the issuance of an order to annul the notice issued by the Secretary of the Ministry of Defence, which requires civilians to return firearms that have been issued under the license for personal security.
Attorney Sanath Wijayawardena filed the petition on behalf of businessman H.D. Navintaka De Silva. Secretary to the Ministry of Defence, the Director of the State Intelligence Service and the Acting Inspector General of Police were named as respondents in the petition. The petitioner claims that due to serious threats made against him in 2012 or 2013, he obtained firearms under a license from the Ministry of Defence. He said that during the period of the Aragalaya, his businesses suffered losses, resulting in significant financial damage. The petitioner added that he learned the Secretary of Defence issued a notice on the 7th of October requiring the return of firearms issued under the license. He asserts that as a businessman, he is facing serious threats due to this decision. Despite appealing against the decision, the petitioner said that he did not receive the relief he expected. Accordingly, he requested the Court of Appeal to issue a writ of certiorari right to nullify the notice issued by the Secretary of Defence and to grant an interim injunction to prevent the enforcement of the notice until a final determination is made.
Newsfirst has been bringing details of what happened to Sri Lanka over the past few weeks. Here's another pressing matter.
What happened to Sri Lanka?
The 2004 tsunami is etched in our memories. 35,000 lives were lost and 5,000 people went missing. Today, we have advanced technology to predict tsunamis well in advance. Globally, many countries are effectively utilizing this technology. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center sets the standard for timely alerts. In the recent past, timely warnings have mitigated disaster and saved lives. We've seen this in action in Indonesia and in Japan. But what have we done? When a risk of tsunami arises, the Met Department collaborates with international organizations for identification, and then they notify the Disaster Management Center. But how does the Disaster Management Center communicate this with the people? Tsunami warning towers have been established along coastal regions. A total of 77 towers have been built across Sri Lanka.
Attention please! Attention please! A strong earthquake has occurred. A strong earthquake has occurred. A possibility of a tsunami exists. Wait for further instructions.
But what has happened now? Out of 77, 57 are non-operational. Even those that function often do so partially. On the 16th of September 2016, the Ministry of Disaster Management signed a contract with a private firm to restore and maintain these 77 towers. The 5-year contract was valued at 135 million rupees. But even now, only 20 of those towers are operational. From 2016 to 2023, 90 million rupees have been spent, including 576,185 rupees for maintenance just this January. The Disaster Management Center claims that the technology for these towers has degraded. The company that produced them has ceased production. They claim to have developed a plan to collaborate with telecom providers for tsunami alerts. However, if these warning towers had been adequately maintained and updated, we wouldn't be facing such financial waste. The same issues plague our Doppler radar systems. Recently, we reported a loss of over 400 million rupees due to a failure to install a Doppler radar on the Gonagala mountain. We later secured a grant from Japan for 2.5 billion Japanese yen for 2 Doppler radar systems. The Met Department said that these radars would be installed in Puttalam and Polonnaruwa. JICA signed the agreement on the 30th of June 2017, expecting installation by 2021. Then what went wrong? According to the National Audit Office, only 370,161 rupees have been spent out of the allocated 513.78 million rupees for this project. Due to prolonged inaction, we now face a funding shortfall for acquiring 2 Doppler radars. the cost of these units has surged. In light of these developments, a lack of funds in May 2022 led to an agreement to install just one radar instead of two. Despite this, the Met Department recently announced plans to prepare for the installation of a Doppler radar in Putlam. Yet, given the recurring issues with the Doppler at Gonagala Mountain, a thorough investigation is imperative, and the audit reports uncover more alarming facts. Recent inquiries have questioned the accuracy of rainfall measurements. Are they reliable or are they flawed? The National Audit Office revealed that only 72 out of 453 rain gauges across Sri Lanka were functioning properly as of the 31st of May last year. And that's not all. Only 70 out of 122 automatic rain gauges are operational. This negligence stems from poor maintenance. Without Doppler radars or effective rain gauges, are we left to rely on superstitions for weather forecasts? Even the tsunami warning towers are failing. And what's happening because of all of it? Billions of public funds are wasted. When foreign nations offer grants to us, they are intended for the people of the country. If these resources aren't managed effectively, that just means one thing. It is a significant failure. The public expects accountability from those tasked with protecting lives.
The power of the people.
The Inland Revenue Department announced that the number of people required to pay taxes this year has increased by 160% compared to last year. According to this announcement, the number of taxpayers has risen due to the amendments made to the Inland Revenue Act last year. The Inland Revenue Department has reported a significant rise in the number of taxpayers for the assessment year 2023-2024. This year, 868,009 people are required to submit income reports, a sharp increase from the 333,313 in the previous year. The growth in taxpayers is attributed to recent amendments to the Inland Revenue Act, which expanded registration efforts targeting business persons, professionals and asset holders. The IRD noted that many new registrations are linked to taxpayer identification numbers or TIN. Meanwhile, people earning over 100,000 rupees per month or 1.2 million rupees per year must submit their income declarations online. For those unable to do so, assistance is available at the IRD's head office and provincial offices.
Newsfirst with the people. Sri Lanka Decides.
A petition has been filed with the Supreme Court seeking to nullify the decision of the District Returning Officer to reject the nomination papers submitted by the Democratic National Front for the one district in the upcoming general election. The petition is filed by Attorney-at-Law Sanath Widewardena on behalf of 3 members of the party.
The chairman and members of the Election Commission as well as the district returning officer for the Wani district have been named as respondents. The petitioners claim that they submitted their nomination papers for the Wani district to the returning officer in accordance with the requirements for contesting the general election. However, the returning officer rejected the nomination papers, citing improper submission. The petitioners argue that all documents were submitted correctly and that the rejection of their nomination papers is unlawful. They are seeking a writ order to nullify the decision. Additionally, the petition requests an interim injunction to suspend the election for the Wani district scheduled for the 14th of November until a final decision is made on the petition.
Kandy district leader of the National People's Power KDLK emphasized that while there are no obstacles to supporting the government, they do not agree to any conditions.
Kandy district leader KDLK of the National People's Power observed a tour in the urban central market today. The purpose of this visit was to identify the issues faced by the traders.
ඔබතුමාලගේ රජයක් යටතේ ඒක හදලා ගන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවද ගරු මන්ත්‍රී?
කොහොමත් ඉතින් අපි ඇවිල්ලා ඉන්නේ රට හදන්නනේ. ඒකෝර මේවත් හදන්න තියෙනවා. ඉතින් අපි 14 වෙනිදා අපි ආණ්ඩුවක් හදනවා. ජනතාව අපිට ඒකට සහයෝගී උපරිමයෙන් දෙන බව මේ යන කොටත් සහතික කරනවා. ඒක අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා මේ ප්‍රශ්න වලට මම උත්තර හොයන්න.
මන්ත්‍රීතුමනි ඔබතුමාලගේ මලයට පැමිණීමට පෙර බඩු මිල අඩුව තිබුණා කියලා දැන් සමහරු කියනවා බඩු මිල ඉහළ වැඩි කියලා. මේ පිළිබඳව අවධානයක් යොමු කරනවද රජය?
ඔව් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ඉතින් මෙහෙමයි බඩු මිල සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ඉහළ පහළ යනවා. ඒක සාමාන්‍ය දෙයක්. සමහර දෙයක් ඉහළ යනකොට සමහර දෙයක් සමහරලාට පහළට යනවා. ඒකේ මිල එහාට මෙහාට වෙන එකක් තියෙනවා. නමුත් තිබුණු තත්ත්වයට වඩා ලොකුවට මේ දරා ගන්න බැරි තරමට භාණ්ඩ හා සේවා මිල ඉහළ ගිහිල්ලා කියලා තත්ත්වයක් නැහැ. නමුත් හිටපු ගමන් බිත්තරේ අඩු වෙනවා, බිත්තරේ වැඩි වෙනවා. අඩු වුණාම කට්ටියට සතුටුයි. නමුත් සුළු හා මධ්‍ය පරිමාණ නිෂ්පාදකයන්ට එතකොට අවාසියක් වෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒක බැලන්ස් කර ගෙනියන්න වෙනවා.
අපි දැක්කා ඊයේ හිටපු ජනාධිපති රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමාගේ ප්‍රකාශය. එහිදී සඳහන් කරා එතුමා පිරිසක් සමග කටයුතු කරා ඒ පිරිස නැවත පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ සිටිය යුතුයි කියලා. ඉතින් එහෙම ඒ පිළිබඳව ඔබතුමාගේ අදහස මොකක්ද?
ඔව් එතුමත් කල්පනා කරන්නේ ඉතින් එතුමත් හැමදාම සිටිය යුතුයි කියලානේ කර කියා ගන්න දෙයක් නැතුවනේ දැන් ගියේ. සිලින්ඩරයකුත් අරගෙන ආවේ යන්න නෙමෙයි ඉන්නනේ. ඉතින් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ එතුමාට වාසිදායක කීප දෙනෙක් හරි ඉන්නවනම් එතුමා සතුටු වෙන්න ඕන. නමුත් අනගාටුවට කියන්න තියෙන්නේ එතුමාගේ කවුරුත් නම් එන්නේ නැහැ මේ පාර. ඒක ස්ථිරයි.
දැන් විපක්ෂයේ කියනවා ඒගොල්ලන්ට බලය දෙන්න ඔබතුමාලාගේ ජනාධිපතිතුමා සමග සහයෝගයෙන් ඒගොල්ලන්ට කටයුතු කරන්න පුළුවන්. එතුමායි කකුලෙන් අදින්නේ නැහැ කියලා ඒගොල්ලන්ට අගමැති ප්‍රමුඛ බලය ලබා දෙන්න කියලා. ඒ පිළිබඳව අදහසක් දක්වන්න කැමතිද?
ඒගොල්ලෝ දැන් අපේ එල්ලීලානේ යන්න හදන්නේ. ඒගොල්ලෝ දැන් අපිට සපෝට් කරන්න තමයි පාර්ලිමේන්තුවෙන් එන්න හදන්නේ. ඉතින් එන්න කමන්නේ පුළුවන් නම් ජනතාව තෝරනවා එන්න මං හිතන්නේ උනාට ඒගොල්ලන්ට ජනතාව ඡන්දෙ දෙයි කියලා.
ඒගොල්ලෝ ටික සහයෝගයෙන් ආවොත් කටයුතු කරන්න සූදානම්.
අපි කාත් එක්කත් සහයෝගයෙන් වැඩ කරනවා. එහෙම ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. රටට වාසි නම් ජනතාවට වාසි නම් ඒකට සහයෝගය දෙන ඕන කෙනෙක්ගේ සහයෝගය ප්‍රශ්න නැහැ. කොන්දේසි නම් අපි බාර ගන්නෑ. ඕන කෙනෙකුට සහයෝගය දෙන්න පුළුවන් කොන්දේසි විරහිතව ජනතාවගේ පැත්ත බලලා.
Speaking at a party meeting in Navisawela, leader of the Samagi Jana Balawege, Sajid Premadasa, said that collaboration with the president is indeed possible.
We were fully prepared to engage directly with the IMF to address the inequities in the tax framework. From day one, we have been ready to implement measures to alleviate the tax burden. However, we did not receive the anticipated public support. The citizens of this country have another opportunity. This opportunity arises in the general elections, where we can gain the capacity to negotiate with the IMF and secure a favorable package aimed at relieving the people's hardships. We are ready to engage with the IMF to establish a new package that will help lift you from your current struggles. I affirm to all of you at this moment that we are committed to fulfilling the responsibility for the betterment of millions in our nation.
Leader of the National People's Power in the Galle district, Nalin Hevage, said today that before coming into power, Sajid Premadasa must resolve internal party issues.
We have seen Sajid Premadasa repeatedly say that we need to become a strong opposition to assist the government. Some people are saying that they have started this. As seen recently in the media with Harsha commenting, they want to establish a government and make Sajid the Prime Minister. Therefore, there is currently a lack of unity within the opposition. Some are claiming that this government is good and that the current path is right. They want help and are asking for support. The problem is that the opposition currently has no strong reasons to oppose the government. We would like to tell Sajid and Harsha that before solving the country's problems, they need to address the internal issues within their party by going ahead with nominations. They have transformed the situation into one that causes harm to the country. What has happened to the people? We have seen them not just submitting nominations, but later handing over those positions to others claiming to work with Ranil. But now, who are they handing over the work to? They are handing it over to someone from Ranil's political business. What kind of politics is this from Sajid? This is why today Sajid's politics have devolved into something very unproductive. He is not suited to be the opposition leader, nor he is a suitable member for the country's governance. He wants to send a message from Galle to Harsha and Sajid. Without jokes, without asking for power in the country. They need to properly manage the power within their party.
මෙහෙම ගන්න කියන කාරණාව අපි හර්ෂවට සහ සජිත්ට ගාලින්දන් පණිවිඩයක් දෙන්න කැමතියි.
Multiple views on debt have also been expressed in the political arena. This is what they had to say.
The Hambantota district candidate from the New Democratic Front, Ajit Rajapaksha, said that the current government has acquired debt totaling to 450 billion rupees during its time in power.
They have been in power for nearly a month now, and within this time, they have secured loans 4 times. They borrowed 450 billion. If we break that down per hour, they have been borrowing about 970 million per hour. Therefore, there has been no change in what Ranil Wickremesinghe's government has implemented. It is the same as before.
What are these debts? Are they new debts? If not, what is it? Former chairman of the Parliamentary Committee on Public Finance, Dr. Har Silva, explained this phenomenon today.
මේකට කියන්නේ ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් කියන්නේ roll over.
This is called a rollover in English. One could raise a question about almost 480 billion rupees being taken as loans. One might ask what the government did with those funds. They could ask if a road was built, a bridge was built, or if people were given some of the benefits through it. No, that did not happen. Nothing has been done. Neither has Kumara Dissanayake stolen the funds. What has happened here is that rolling over. The people of the country needs to be educated about the economy. If not, that would lead to public misunderstandings. What I explained right now is what happened with the funds.
National Executive Member of the National People's Power, KDLK, had this to say.
When have the President, ministers, our leaders, whoever it may be, said that they challenge the notion that a country can run without taking loans? Anura has consistently said that loans are not a crime. Loans are necessary. They need to be invested correctly. It's important to use loans in a way that does not lead to theft, fraud or corruption. What if the IMF left? That wouldn't be the story they say now. Then they would have said that the IMF abandoned Sri Lanka. This government has failed. That's what would be said. Everyone was waiting to see if a government would come to power to send them away. That's not the case. We are following the proper state procedures to take the financial assistance. It is necessary for the country. We say that before looking at these tranches, we must examine whether they will be wasted or not, and whether they will be used for the right purposes or not. If we need it, we will take loans. We won't waste them. That loan will be used for a systematic investment in the country.
The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna discussed plans for the upcoming general election today at the party headquarters located at Nelumawatha in Battaramulla. Following the discussion, the party's national organizer Namal Rajapaksha responded to questions posed by journalists.
දැන් මේ රනිල් මහත්තයට සහාය දෙන්න ගියා පිරිසක්. දැන් ගෑස් සිලින්ඩරෙන් එනවා. දැන් 2.4 කඩන් වටනේ පොහොට්ටුව. මේ අය කඩන් ගියේ හින්දාද? එක හේතුවක්. ප්‍රධානතම හේතුවක්. අපි එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයත් එක්ක සන්දානගත වීම ප්‍රධානතම හේතුවක් විදිහට මම දකිනවා. හැබැයි ඒ වෙලාවේ රට වෙනුවෙන් අපිට කළ යුතු හොඳම තීන්දුව අපි ගත්තා. ඒකම තමයි අපේ බහුතරයක් ඉහළ පෙළේ නායකයෝ පක්ෂය අතහැරලා ගියා. ඉතින් පැහැදිලිවම අපි අපිට නොගැලපෙන දීගයකට ගියාම නෑදෑයොත් අතහැරලා ගියාම ඉතින් පහුල කඩන් වැටෙනවා. රාජපක්ෂ දේශපාලන ඉවරද? හොඳ රාජපක්ෂවරුන්ගේ දේශපාලන ඉවරද නැද්ද කියන කාරණේ තීන්දුව කරන මෙරටේ ජනතාව. ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොත්ජන පෙරමුණේ නිර්මාතෘ බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයා. ඕන නැද්ද මේ මහමැතිවරණයට? නෑ එතුමා තම පෞද්ගලික කාරණයක් මත විදේශගත වුණා. ඉතින් එතුමා මැතිවරණයට අපිට උදව් කරනවා. රනිල් රාජපක්ෂ කියන නමක් ඇදුණානේ. අවසාන රනිල් රාජපක්ෂ නමක් ඇදුණා. මාව වැල් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවෙන් ඈතට ගන්න වඩාගෙන යන්න කියන වඩාගෙන යනවා කියලා කිව්වා. ඉතින් මාව අතහැරලා ගිහිල්ලා තින් බල යනකොට. අතහැරියේ නෑ මම පැන්න වැල් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවෙන්. මොකද මගේ ප්‍රතිපත්තිය එතුමාගේ ප්‍රතිපත්තිය වෙනස්. ඒකෙන් දරුවා ඔයාද? දරුවා මමද නැද්ද කියන එක රනිල් මහත්තයන් ඇතුළේ අහන්න ඕනේ.
26 days remain for the general election of 2024. Here are some heated political scenes from before the ballot.
Before the ballot.
When Mahinda Rajapaksha visited our villages and carried our children in his arms, we believed that he would develop our country. In the end, he left us with a bankrupt nation. I am very certain that most people listening to this are in debt to either the rural bank or the Samruddhi bank. Many have pawned all their valuable jewelry. That is because they left us with nothing else but a bankrupted country.
ඔවුන් කිව්වා රාජපක්ෂවරු හොරු කියලා. නමුත් ඔවුන් අන්තිමටම තමන්ගේ
They said that the Rajapaksas are thieves, but later on, during the final days of their political campaigns, they claimed that the Rajapaksas have settled their debts and that they aren't thieves.
එහෙනම් දැන් මේ ගෙවන්න තියෙන්නේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ ජනාධිපතිතුමා ගත්ත ණය කියලා.
Although we make a big deal out of the $60 billion of loans taken by our country, there are developed countries that do the same. They take loans and invest. The Rajapaksas too have not pocketed all that money. This man named Ranil Wickremesinghe converted $23 million to $6,000 million. Now the newly appointed president and government just have to follow the program that Ranil Wickremesinghe began. A good team must go to parliament this time. Our team consists of young candidates. There is no use of those big shows. 60 out of the 225 have left. I believe that it's not enough. Another 125, 150 must leave. The parties have no leaders. There's one symbol for the Kandy district and another for the Badula district. Who are the leaders of these symbols? How will the people trust them? How do they work? The reason for me to contest the election is that there are no parties, there is no opposition, and no parties were able to claim the majority of votes during this presidential election. If the same happens in the upcoming general election, then we, Arunalu Janata Perumuna, will be ready with a large number of professionals in order to build the country and strengthen the country economically. Not only should there be people we haven't heard of before, but also well-known thieves should not be sent to parliament.
Before the ballot.
IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva has noted that the global inflation wave is receding thanks to decisive monetary policy actions, easing supply chain constraints and moderating food and energy prices. These factors are steering the world back towards price stability, offering a glimmer of hope amidst recent turmoil. The upcoming IMF and World Bank Group meetings are expected to focus on these positive trends and explore further measures to sustain economic recovery and stability.
First, we will cherish the good news, and rightly so, because we haven't had much of it lately. The big global inflation wave is in retreat. A combination of resolute monetary policy action, easing supply chain constraints, and moderating food and energy prices is guiding us back in the direction of price stability. And this has been done without tipping the global economy into recession and large-scale job losses. Something we saw during the pandemic and after past inflation episodes, and which many feared we would see again. But we didn't. Medium-term growth is forecast to be lackluster, not sharply lower than pre-pandemic, but far from good enough. Not enough to eradicate world poverty, nor to create the number of jobs we require, nor to generate the tax revenues that governments need to service heavy debt loads, while attending to vast investment needs, including for the green transition. Going forward, trade will not be the same engine of growth as before. It is the fracturing I warned of back in 2019, right from this very place. Except it is worse. It is like pouring cold water on already lukewarm world economy. My appeal during these annual meetings will be, let's work together in an enlightened way to lift our collective prospects. Let us not take the global tensions as given, but rather resolve to work to lower the geopolitical temperature and attend to the tasks that can only be tackled together. Trade, which has lowered prices, improved quality, created jobs, and is still showing remarkable resilience in the face of new barriers, often flowing around them via third countries. But we need to recognize redirection can only take us that far, and we cannot assume it will continue indefinitely.
The IMF has said that it has completed the review of the Poverty Reduction and Growth Trust facilities and financing.
The Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund has successfully completed the review of the Poverty Reduction and Growth Trust facilities and financing. This initiative is pivotal for providing concessional financing to low-income member countries. Kristalina Georgieva, Managing Director of the IMF, announced the adoption of a comprehensive reform and financing package aimed at enhancing the IMF's support to low-income countries. The newly approved package includes a framework to utilize IMF net income and reserves generating approximately $8 billion in additional subsidy resources for the PRGT over the next 5 years. This, combined with other reform measures and last year's successful bilateral fundraising, is expected to increase the PRGT's long-term annual lending capacity to about $3.6 billion, more than double the pre-pandemic level. This boost will help attract significant additional flows from both public and private sources. Georgieva emphasized the critical timing of this agreement, noting that low-income countries have faced a series of unprecedented shocks and substantial financing needs. The approved package aims to provide the necessary concessional resources to ensure continued support for these countries in implementing sound policies and building robust institutions. The reforms are designed to tailor IMF support to the specific needs of low-income countries, acknowledging their increasing economic diversity. The new interest rate mechanism will maintain interest-free lending for the poorest countries while ensuring sufficient concessionality for others. Additionally, access policies will be flexible to calibrate fund support, and safeguards will be strengthened and streamlined.
The pre-election budgetary position report 2024 released by the Ministry of Finance says that the undisbursed balance of multilateral foreign financing from already committed loans stood at $1,696 million expected to be utilized over the next 3 to 5 years.
As of the end of August 2024, Sri Lanka has secured foreign financing agreements totaling $398.7 million with various development partners and lending agencies. According to the pre-election budgetary position report 2024, of this amount, $350 million was obtained through loans. Additionally, $48.7 million was committed through 7 grant agreements under official development assistance from the governments of Japan and Australia. From the 1st of January to the 31st of August 2024, total foreign financing disbursements amounted to over $1 billion. This includes $994.4 million disbursed as loans and $11.3 million as grants. The Asian Development Bank was the largest contributor, accounting for 36% of the total disbursements. This was followed by the International Monetary Fund at 33% and the World Bank at 24%. The majority of these disbursements were allocated to the budget support sector, which received 33% of the total funds. Other significant allocations included the power and energy sector at 13%, the SME development sector at 10%, and the finance sector at 7%. As of the 31st of August 2024, the undisbursed balance of multilateral foreign financing from already committed loans stood at $1.696 billion, and these funds are expected to be utilized over the next 3 to 5 years. However, the undisbursed balance of foreign financing from bilateral lenders has been impacted by the interim policy of temporary suspended debt servicing.
Gold prices have hit record highs as the war in the Middle East prompted investors to seek out the safe haven asset.
Gold prices hit records high on Thursday as uncertainties surrounding the US presidential election and the war in the Middle East prompted investors to seek out the safe haven asset, while easing monetary policy environment kept prices elevated. Spot gold rose by 0.7% to $2,690.60 per ounce. US gold futures settled 0.6 higher at $2,707.50. Gold has seen a surge of over 30% this year, surpassing record levels driven by prospects of further Federal Reserve rate cuts after a half percentage point rate cut last month and ongoing geopolitical uncertainties. Delegates to the London Bullion Market Association's annual gathering predicted earlier this week that gold prices are expected to rise to $2,941.
The Sri Lanka Law College inaugurated its first ever moot court today, marking a significant advancement in legal education.
The Sri Lanka Law College inaugurated its first ever moot court today, sponsored by President's Counsel Dr. K. Kandy. The event also featured the launch of Uplifting Legal Education, 150 Years of Law College, a definitive study of Asia's oldest professional institution. Dr. Kandy served as the chief guest, underscoring the importance of enhancing legal education in the country.
I have often noticed things are very different today than it used to be in many matters. In many aspects of practice of the profession, in court and out of court. So the first step towards that would be a disciplining of the lawyers' behavior in court and out of court that starts with a training in advocacy. That is where the moot court becomes important.
The transformation the Law College has gone through over the last 45 years is not radical but gradual, both from the perspective of academic sphere as well as the atmosphere it radiates, emanating from the students it holds at any given time. Which is surprising given the rapidity of the changes that are taking place around us. Nonetheless, the Law College continues to serve the legal profession as the only institution that turns out attorneys at law. The Law College has played a pivotal role in shaping the legal landscape of our country, and its impact will continue to be felt for generations to come.
One of the major accomplishments during my tenure is this moot court. I am not hesitant to say the most respected legal practitioner now in the country, Dr. Kanageshwaran, President's Counsel, has generously agreed to sponsor it. This moot court is not only for law students, but also for legal practitioners, even judges as a training venue. It is important to learn to think on your feet as law students so that you can put it into practice in real life as legal professionals.
The opening of the moot court, sir, is a historic milestone in the life of this hallowed institute. It is the transformation of the billiards room which we fondly know. And today, the billiards room where, as my friend Justice Aluvihare did mention, that was a very close clique that had the privilege of access to the billiards room. And today we have transformed that transformed, sir, with your generosity, to a moot court where young lawyers, law students can hone their skills in advocacy. That has been something that has been lacking in the Law College for 150 years.
The event was attended by the members of the judiciary, including Supreme Court justices, the President of the Court of Appeal, judges of original courts, the President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, and students of the Law College.
An informal gathering with supporting effective dispute resolution and the Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art Sri Lanka to explore the role of art in conflict resolution was held in Colombo today.
A collaborative meeting between supporting effective dispute resolution and the Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art, Sri Lanka, took place in Colombo today, with the primary objective of examining the potential of art to facilitate conflict resolution.
The overall objectives of our project is to facilitate dialogue between the state and local communities to try and address the underlying causes of community-level disputes. We have been working with the Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art of Sri Lanka to use artistic expression as a means to support alternative dispute resolution. The way in which MMCA is doing that is by working with a small group of public engagement fellows who will be facilitating dialogues in local communities about the root causes of disputes, creating awareness about the pathways and options that are available for communities at local level to resolve those disputes, and thirdly, to encourage those communities to use those options and pathways to resolve disputes at a local level.
This discussion also focused on providing insights gained from the Arts Plus Land program, which was launched earlier this year.
Moving on to news overseas, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's promises to press on with Israel's wars in Gaza and Lebanon dashed hopes that the killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar might help end a more than a year of escalating conflict in the Middle East.
Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas, a mastermind of the October 7, 2023 attack that triggered the Gaza War, was killed during an operation by Israeli soldiers in the Palestinian enclave on Wednesday, a pivotal event in the year-long conflict. Sinwar had led the armed group in Gaza since 2017 and was described by Israel, the US and UK as the mastermind behind the 7th October attacks, when Hamas gunmen killed around 1,200 people in Israel and took 251 hostages. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called Sinwar's killing a milestone late on Thursday, but vowed to keep up the war, which in recent weeks expanded from fighting against Palestinian group Hamas in Gaza into an invasion of southern Lebanon and the bombardment of large swathes of the country. Netanyahu told Israelis, quote-unquote, "The war, my dear ones, is not yet over," saying fighting would continue until hostages held by Hamas are released. Netanyahu's comments contrasted with Western leaders, including US President Joe Biden, who said Sinwar's death offered a chance for the conflict to end.
And with that, we wrap up news for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Take care. Good night.
Good night.